Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt drained? Have you ever read a message, heard a comment, or faced a situation that completely threw off your mood? It happens to all of us. But why? Because energy is contagious. And if we're not careful, we absorb emotions, negativity, and chaos that don't belong to us. But here's the good news. You have more control than you think. Today, we're talking about how to own your energy and protect yourself from emotional triggers so that no matter what happens around you, you stay in control of what happens within you. Most of us go through life reacting to situations without ever stopping to ask why we react the way we do. We assume our emotions are just a part of life. Anger, frustration, anxiety, exhaustion. But we rarely take the time to trace them back to their source. The truth is, every emotional reaction we have is triggered by something. And if we don't recognize those triggers, we remain powerless against them. Think of it like this. If you were walking through a field and suddenly got stung by a bee, you might be startled. But if you kept getting stung every time you walked through the same field, at some point, you'd stop and ask, where are these bees coming from? Why do they keep showing up? How can I avoid getting stung? That's awareness. It's the ability to recognize patterns, to spot the triggers before they take hold, and to take steps to protect yourself instead of blindly walking into the same pain over and over again. Emotional triggers work the same way. Maybe it's a certain type of conversation that always leaves you feeling drained. Maybe it's a specific person who constantly makes you feel small. Maybe it's a fear that keeps resurfacing whenever you step outside your comfort zone. If we don't recognize these patterns, we will continue to be caught off guard, reacting the same way, feeling the same frustration, stress, or sadness over and over again. But the moment we become aware of them, we gain the power to disrupt the cycle. Awareness is the first line of defense, because it shifts us from being passive participants in our emotional world to being active observers. Instead of just feeling angry, we ask, why am I angry? Instead of being consumed by stress, we question, what is triggering this stress? Instead of shutting down emotionally, we pause and explore, what just happened that made me react this way? This is not about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them, because when we understand them, we can manage them. And when we manage them, we regain control. Think about the last time you felt a strong emotional reaction. Maybe it was an argument with a friend, a piece of criticism that stung, or a situation where you felt unheard. What was it that really triggered you? Was it the words that were said? Or was it something deeper? Did it remind you of a past experience? Did it touch a wound that hasn't fully healed? Did it make you feel insecure, unseen, or unappreciated? Most of the time, our reactions are not about the present moment at all. They are echoes of past experiences, unresolved emotions, or fears we haven't faced. And when we start paying attention, we begin to see patterns. The same types of people, situations, or conversations tend to set us off. And once we recognize that pattern, we can start preparing for it instead of falling victim to it. Awareness also helps us separate real threats from perceived threats. Not every negative emotion is a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it's just our brain overreacting, our past experiences influencing our present reality. When we are unaware of our triggers, we let them control us. But when we become aware of them, we start making intentional choices about how we respond. It's like learning the terrain of your own emotional landscape. If you know where the sharp rocks are, you can walk carefully. If you know which paths lead to dead ends, you can stop taking them. If you know what situations tend to throw you off balance, you can prepare for them in advance instead of reacting impulsively. This is why awareness is the first line of defense. Because you can't protect yourself from what you don't see. You can't change a pattern you don't recognize, and you can't take control of your emotions if you don't first understand what triggers them. Every morning we wake up with a certain amount of energy. Just like time and money, our energy is a finite resource, something that must be managed wisely. The problem is, most of us don't treat it that way. We spend our emotional and mental energy as if it's unlimited, draining ourselves on things that don't serve us until we have nothing left for the things that actually matter. Think about it. If you had only $100 to spend in a day, you wouldn't throw it away on meaningless purchases. You'd prioritize what's important. You'd make sure you're investing it in things that bring value to your life. Yet, when it comes to our emotional energy, we rarely apply the same logic. We allow people, situations, and distractions to take from us without question. We waste energy on arguments that don't matter, on worrying about things we can't control, on stressing over opinions that have no impact on our future. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted all the time. The reality is, where we choose to invest our energy determines everything: our happiness, our productivity, our peace of mind. If we don't become intentional about protecting our energy, we will find ourselves depleted, burnt out, and emotionally drained without even realizing why. Where is your energy going? Most people don't track their energy the way they track their time or their finances. But if you were to step back and audit your day, you might be surprised by how much energy is being wasted. How much time do you spend stressing over things that haven't even happened yet? How often do you replay past conversations, over-analyzing every word? How many hours do you lose scrolling through social media, absorbing other people's emotions, comparing yourself to unrealistic expectations? And then ask yourself, how often do you invest your energy into things that actually fuel you? How often do you spend time in conversations that uplift you? How much energy do you put into habits that strengthen you, into people who inspire you, into work that fulfills you? We don't always realize it, but everything we engage with is either giving us energy or taking it away. And when we fail to recognize what's draining us, we become powerless to stop it. Energy vampires, the silent thieves. There are people and situations in life that function like energy vampires. They take, they drain, and they leave us feeling exhausted. Sometimes it's obvious: a toxic relationship, a draining workplace, a constant cycle of negativity in our environment, but other times it's more subtle. It's the friend who always needs something but never gives in return. It's the colleague who complains about everything but never takes action. It's the habit of saying yes to things we don't want to do because we're afraid of disappointing others. And here's the truth: not everything deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves your attention. Protecting your energy means being willing to say no, to walk away from negativity, to set boundaries that keep you from being drained by things that don't add value to your life. The cost of wasting energy: when we allow our energy to be scattered, we pay the price. We feel mentally exhausted, but don't know why. We lose motivation. We find ourselves easily irritated, overwhelmed by small things, unable to focus on what actually matters. Think of your energy like a phone battery. If you leave too many apps running in the background, your battery drains faster. You might not even be using those apps, but they are still pulling power, making your device sluggish and inefficient. The same thing happens with our mental and emotional energy. When we let too many things run in the background of our minds: unresolved stress, unnecessary drama, distractions that don't serve us, we burn out faster. And what happens when your phone battery gets too low? Everything slows down. It stops functioning at its best. It might even shut down completely. That's what happens when we don't protect our energy. Energy management, the key to emotional strength. Protecting your energy isn't about shutting yourself off from the world. It's about being intentional with where you invest your time, attention, and emotions. It's about recognizing what fuels you and what drains you, and making conscious choices to prioritize what matters. If something drains you but isn't necessary, it's time to let it go. If something fuels you, make more space for it. If someone constantly pulls you into negativity, create distance. If an environment makes you feel small, remove yourself from it. Because at the end of the day, your energy is one of the most valuable things you have. And if you don't take care of it, no one else will. There is a moment right between an emotional trigger and our reaction that holds incredible power. It's small, almost unnoticeable, but in that space lies the difference between reacting impulsively and responding intentionally. That moment is the pause, and mastering it is one of the most important skills we can develop. Most of us don't think about the pause. We live in a world of instant reactions. Messages are replied to within seconds. Emotions flare up without reflection, and decisions are made in the heat of the moment. Someone says something that upsets us, and we fire back. A situation frustrates us and we let it ruin our entire day. We get an email that stresses us out, and before even thinking, we let the stress consume us. But here's the truth. Reacting is easy. Responding with intention is powerful. And the key to that power is learning to pause. Why we react instead of pause. The brain is wired for survival. When we feel threatened emotionally or physically, our fight or flight system kicks in. This is useful in real danger, but in everyday life, this instinct often backfires. A rude comment, an unexpected challenge, a frustrating delay, our brain interprets these as threats, triggering an emotional response before we even have time to process what's happening. This is why we snap at people we love. It's why we send messages we regret. It's why we let a single frustrating moment take over an entire day. We react before we think. Not because we want to, but because we haven't trained ourselves to pause. But the pause is always available to us, and the more we practice it, the more control we gain over our emotions or energy in our interactions. What happens in the pause? The pause creates space. Space to breathe, space to reflect, space to choose how we want to respond. When we pause, we allow our rational mind to step in before our emotional mind takes over. We ask ourselves, is this worth my energy? What is the best way to handle this? Am I about to react based on habit or emotion? What outcome do I actually want? This small act of reflection changes everything. It stops us from escalating unnecessary conflicts. It helps us avoid saying things we don't mean. It gives us a chance to process emotions instead of being ruled by them. The power of delayed reaction, pausing, doesn't mean ignoring emotion. It means giving them room to settle so we can respond from a place of clarity instead of impulse. Have you ever sent a text or email in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later? That's what happens when we don't pause. But imagine if, instead, we waited an hour, a day, even just a few minutes before responding. How many misunderstandings could be avoided? How much unnecessary stress could be prevented? Mastering the pause is like pressing the reset button before reacting. It allows us to step back and gain perspective. Instead of jumping into conflict, we choose our words carefully. Instead of letting stress control us, we take a deep breath and decide how to move forward. Instead of wasting energy on things that don't matter, we focus on what actually does. Training yourself to pause. The pause is a skill, and like any skill, it must be practiced. Here's how. Notice your triggers. Pay attention to what sets you off. Is it a certain type of criticism, a particular person, a stressful situation? The more aware you are, the easier it becomes to catch yourself before reacting. Use physical cues. When you feel yourself about to react, take a deep breath, count to 5, step away from the situation if needed. Physical actions help create space for mental clarity. Ask yourself key questions. What is my goal in this situation? Is this reaction going to help or hurt? How will I feel about this decision in an hour, in a day? Practice small pauses daily. Start with minor situations, a delayed email response, a few deep breaths before answering a tough question, a short walk before responding to frustration. Small habits build long-term control. Make the pause a habit. The more you pause, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll find yourself reacting less and responding more, not just in moments of stress, but in every aspect of life. Why the pause matters. Think about the most composed, respected, and emotionally strong people you know. Chances are, they don't react to everything. They respond. They take their time. They think before they speak. They choose their words and actions carefully. That level of control doesn't come from suppressing emotions. It comes from mastering the pause. It comes from knowing that we are not our emotions. We are the ones who manage them. And when we take that power back, we stop being controlled by our triggers. We stop giving others control over our energy. We stop letting small moments define entire days. Because true strength isn't about reacting. It's about choosing how we respond. And every time we pause, we reclaim that choice. Boundaries are not walls. They are not about shutting people out or keeping yourself locked away from the world. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define what you will and will not accept, what you will and will not tolerate, and most importantly, what you will and will not give your energy to. They are the foundation of self-respect, the guardrails that protect your emotional and mental well-being, and the framework that allows you to stand strong in a world that constantly pulls at you. Without boundaries, we give away our power, piece by piece, moment by moment, until one day we wake up feeling drained, unappreciated, and frustrated, unsure of how we got here. But the truth is, we teach people how to treat us by what we allow. And when we don't set clear boundaries, we send the message that our time, our energy, and our well-being are not priorities. Why we struggle to set boundaries. Most people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear what will happen when they do. What if people get upset? What if they think I'm selfish? What if I lose relationships because I start saying no? We are wired for connection, and the idea of upsetting or disappointing others can feel uncomfortable, even terrifying. So instead of setting boundaries, we overextend ourselves. We say yes when we want to say no. We allow conversations that drain us, relationships that exhaust us, and situations that take more from us than they give. And over time, this leads to resentment, burnout, and a loss of self-respect. But here's what we forget. Healthy boundaries do not push people away. They show people where we stand. They communicate our values, our limits, and our expectations. The people who truly respect and care for us will honor them. The ones who don't, they were only interested in what they could take from us, not in who we are. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. Imagine a house with no doors, no locks, no fences. Anyone can walk in at any time, strangers, neighbors, even people with bad intentions. There is no control, no protection, no security. That's what life looks like without boundaries. Now imagine that same house with a strong front door, clear entry points, and signs that indicate who is welcome and who is not. It doesn't mean no one is allowed in. It means only those who respect the space can enter. That's what personal boundaries do. They define the space where your energy, your emotions, and your peace of mind are protected. When you set boundaries, you are saying, my time is valuable, my energy is limited, my well-being is a priority, I will not allow disrespect, manipulation, or negativity to drain me. And when you enforce those boundaries, you reclaim your power. Recognizing where you need boundaries. If you feel constantly overwhelmed, exhausted, or taken advantage of, chances are there are areas in your life where boundaries are weak or non-existent. The best way to identify them is to ask yourself, where do I feel the most resentment? What situations make me feel drained or unappreciated? When do I feel like I am giving too much and receiving too little? Who in my life constantly oversteps my comfort zones? Resentment is often a sign that a boundary needs to be set. Exhaustion is a sign that a boundary is being ignored. The more we pay attention to these signals, the more we realize where we need to take back control. Different types of boundaries. Emotional boundaries. Protect your feelings. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions at the cost of your own. Time boundaries. Protect your schedule. If you are constantly overcommitting and sacrificing your own needs, it's time to start saying no. Energy boundaries. Protect your mental space. If certain conversations, people, or habits leave you feeling drained, limit your exposure. Physical boundaries. Protect your personal space. No one has the right to invade your physical or emotional comfort zones without your consent. Social boundaries. Protect your environment. You don't have to engage in relationships or spaces that make you feel small, unwanted, or disrespected. Enforcing boundaries without guilt. Setting boundaries is one thing, enforcing them is another, and this is where most people struggle. Because enforcing boundaries means saying no. It means standing firm when people push back. It means accepting that not everyone will be happy with your limits. But here's the reality. You are not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. Your job is to protect your energy, not to make sure everyone else is comfortable at the expense of your well-being. If someone gets upset because you won't overextend yourself for them, that's not your problem. If someone disrespects your boundary and expects you to keep giving, that's a reflection of them, not of you. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always resist when you start setting them. That doesn't mean you should back down. It means you're doing something right. Boundaries are the foundation of strong relationships. The strongest relationships, whether friendships, family bonds, or romantic partnerships, are built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. And boundaries are what create that foundation. When you set a boundary and someone respects it, it deepens the relationship. It shows that they value you as a person, not just for what you can give. It creates a dynamic where both people can be honest, open, and true to themselves. On the other hand, when someone constantly pushes against your boundaries, it reveals something important. They were never truly invested in your well-being. They were invested in what they could get from you. This is why boundaries don't destroy relationships, they reveal them. Owning your power, at the end of the day, boundaries are not about keeping people out. They are about keeping yourself whole. They are about ensuring that your energy is directed toward things that nourish you, not things that drain you. They are about teaching the world how to treat you, not by force, not by anger, but by the quiet confidence of knowing your worth. When you set and enforce boundaries, you are taking back control of your life. You are saying, I am responsible for my own happiness. I will not allow anyone else to dictate my worth, my peace, or my energy. Because in the end, your boundaries don't just protect you, they define you. And the moment you take ownership of them, you step fully into your power. Owning your energy is not about shutting yourself off from the world. It's about recognizing that your emotional, mental, and physical well-being are valuable, and that protecting them is not selfish, it's necessary. When you become aware of what drains you, when you set boundaries that honor your worth, when you learn to pause before reacting, you take back control of your life. Your energy is your responsibility. No one else will protect it for you. The more intentional you become about where you invest it, the more you will find yourself surrounded by people, environments, and experiences that uplift and empower you. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can allow the world to dictate your emotional state, or you can take charge of your energy and decide what is worthy of your time, attention, and effort. Because when you own your energy, you own your power.